Yeah, welcome back to the Aro Benaiah Show, where we explore the real stories, smart strategy behind on entrepreneurs, business builder, keeping the industries from ground up. Today, guest has mastered the art of digital marketing since before us even knew about CEO, what CEO meant. I'm joined by Dave, our Parkhurst, a founder of Green Haven Interactive, a pioneering digital marketing agency that has been helping business grow online since 1990s. Dave team is trusted by other marketing agency for the deep expertise in search engine AI-driven strategy, authentic branding. Green Haven is known as company of kindness, using business as a force for good, or supporting local charity and helping people who are falling through the crack find opportunity again. In this conversation, we'll explore how business owners, especially those in trade and other service, can use AI and digital tools win trusted, attract clients, and stay humans in the high-tech world. Once again, it's really a pleasure having you on having you on this show, Dave.
Thank you. I appreciate being here. Good to meet you.
Yeah. Dave, what was it like growing up for you?
Well, so I have always been an entrepreneur. Maybe somebody would say I've always wanted money. So when I grew up, my parents, I had a great upbringing, but my parents didn't have a lot of money. My dad was a blue collar worker. I know you talk to a lot of folks that are blue collar workers. But I didn't have a lot of the things that I wanted. And so I would get out there with my friends and we would do whatever we needed to do to raise money. We would go out to the beach and collect cans from the beach and recycle them. I sold seeds door to door. I sold magazines door to door. If there was something around that somebody would buy as a little kid up until my teen years and beyond, I would do it. I would sell stuff door to door. So I've always been a salesperson from the time that I was a kid up until now. When I was in college, I didn't have any college scholarships or anything, so I needed money to go to college. And I started a DJ business where we would go put on dances for schools and for weddings and this type of thing. And so I've always been a salesperson. And then the other thing I've always been and always done is I've always worked with technology. So when I was a kid in the 1970s, because I'm a little bit older than you.
Yeah.
My parents bought me one of the first computers that was sold in our town. And I played around with computers. And so from the time that I was young, I was always interested in technology, and the merging of computers and my desire to sell things led to the career that I've been in for my entire life with technology and marketing and sales. And so that's kind of what made me who I am today.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. It's the fact that into those early struggles, you wore different hats at different time, and it really spoke volume about your willingness to actually put in the work and actually earn money from everything you get to do. But the fact that you actually even come into the internet business very early is quite amazing, being that particular point, a whole lot of person doesn't know what the potential is. So what drew you into the early internet space when most people don't actually even see what potential it holds?
Well, the funny thing is, the answer to that question is I didn't really know what the potential was. So, but what I did know is at the time I was working for Apple Computer and I was selling computers, and this was the early 90s. And the interesting thing was Apple was a wonderful company to work for because they didn't mind if you had a side gig. They didn't mind if you did something else. As long as you were doing what they wanted you to do, It was okay. And so when the early 1990s, the internet was brand new. It was, people weren't making money at it at the time, but I thought there might be some way to make money with this internet thing. So what I did is what I've done a lot of times over the years when I think there's some potential is I decided, okay, I'll start a company and I'll try to figure out what the potential is for making money with the internet. And so at first, after I kind of figured it out a little bit, I started building websites. They were very crude by today's standards. They were very basic websites. And then I had to convince people that, hey, you probably need a website for your business. And Well, they say, well, why do I need a website? Well, I'm not 100% sure, but you need a website for your business. And so the early potential of the internet, I just knew there was something there. I didn't quite know what it was. And so I just went out and I experimented and I learned, and I grew that business from just myself and a friend of mine from high school. We just started off together while we were working for Apple. And then I grew that up until 2006 when I left Apple and decided I wanted to be 100% on my own. And we've grown it then from 2006 till today. And there's 15 people on the team and we're in multiple countries and just having a great time. So that's where I started. And my advice to people is usually if you want to do something, you don't have to have it completely figured out to start with. Just start and then it will become obvious to you as you go. And that was
Wow.
true with me.
That was pretty really amazing, and the fact that you just said, okay, let's get it started. Later we'll actually get to figure it out, and that was pretty amazing because there's this particular quote I had in mind that have actually even helped me more like even create the podcast. Because at first I was like, what will I talk about? Why should I be passionate about local entrepreneurs? I just know that I had a whole lot of handy jobs going around. I run more like a industrial cleaning. Alongside Sue, I do painting and have a whole lot of crews who work with me. And I was like, wow, why shouldn't I? Let me just talk about local entrepreneurs. I was like, well, how should I get started? And just the way you said, it was this particular code that just helped me that, yeah, let it first begin and later then we can actually make it better. And just
You're
hearing
right.
from you the fact that, okay, let's figure it out as it goes. Just speak volume because sometimes being an entrepreneur, you don't know what hold for you, what possibility it hold, and what potential. But
Yes.
the fact that you have an open mind on, yeah, there's a whole lot of possibility. What you just said, just speak volume to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So working with Apple, you're actually more like I know owing to the environment there, it give you leverage and the fact that you could work on couples of projects, being that you can deliver what is expected of you, and nobody
Mm-hmm.
actually more like penalize you to it. So how did that actually shape your approach in innovation today, from what you actually more like saw in Apple?
Well, so one of the things that was great about Apple, and it's I think what made Apple very successful, is they were always looking, and Steve Jobs was always looking at where the consumer would be in the future. So he wasn't necessarily looking at where are things today, but what does the consumer want, or what will they want in the future? And so oftentimes there's a hockey star, Wayne Gretzky. I don't know if you've ever heard of him or not, but he always used to say, how are you going to be successful in hockey? Well, you don't skate where the puck is now. You skate to where it's going to be. And so one of the things that was fantastic about Apple is Apple was always projecting where things might be in the future. So they would come up with new things. And people would say about the new things that they created at first, well, nobody's doing that. Why are you building this? Nobody wants that. But eventually they did want that. So that's kind of one of the things that I learned there is try to figure out what people will want in the future. And if you can start doing that, preparing yourself for that now, then you will be early into the innovation cycle. There's a thing I've read about over the years called first mover advantage, the first person that kind of gets there. And sometimes you can charge a little bit more money with that. I mean, the amount of money we charged in the beginning for building websites, nobody knew, well, we'll just sort of figure it out as we go. So I think that's one of the great things that Apple did. And the other thing that I learned when I was with Apple was they were great at focusing on the design point of all of their products was the end user. It wasn't the thing, it was the people using the thing. And so a lot of companies, in the early computer industry, they would think, well, I can build a better computer. I can build a better this or that. They were focusing on what they were building and not enough on what the people that they were building it for really wanted. It has a reputation, for instance, even till this day, of being easier to use computer and easier to use iPhone and easier to use device than other devices. And that's because of the focus being on the end user and not just on the technology. So those are two of the big lessons. And we try to incorporate that now into what we do at Greenhaven by saying, well, what is it that our client needs and what does their client need? What are they looking for? And that if we build a website or we help our client design messages that resonate with people and not just with the technology, then we're going to be much better off and we're going to be successful. And that's worked very well for us.
Yeah, amazing. Being that at the end of the day, it's having something that have to do being consumer centric in terms of putting more like customer at the end of the day really speak volume, either in more like service business or in innovation and everything. If you are innovating things and there is no people at the end of it, it will just be more of you are just creating things that will not be needed.
Exactly.
And once it's not needed, how would they pay you for it? Yeah, this is really amazing. So Greenhaven is named after your late mom, your late mother.
Yes.
Your late mother favorite spot in her garden. And I love that. So what value did that name and memory instill on your company culture today?
Well, so part of our company culture, and I think all of my staff would agree that part of our company culture is we're really about bringing kindness and value to all the people we interact with. So I have a person on my staff who her job at each of our staff meetings is to bring us some new ideas about kindness. In fact, I call her my chief kindness officer. You know, everybody has a chief executive officer and a chief marketing officer. Well, we have a chief kindness officer. And her job is to help us to connect everything that we're doing in business and all of our interactions with everybody around us with kindness and how to interact with people with kindness. We want everybody's day that we interact with to be happier after they've talked to us than before they've talked to us. So that's part of what I learned from my mom, this place that she looked out from her kitchen window that she called her Greenhaven. That made her happy. It was fresh. It was alive. There was the trees and there was the squirrels and there was the birds. And it was a happy thing. And part of our goal in our interactions with everybody, not just our clients, but when we interact with our vendors or we interact with our competitors, we interact with anybody, is to bring that sense of kindness and humanity to them. I had a discussion with my staff recently. I saw this plaque that was over a competitor's door. And what the plaque said was, our job is not to make our clients happy, but to make them successful. And I told my staff, I don't agree with that at all. I said, if our clients are successful, but they're not happy, then we've not done our job. But guess what? If we make our clients happy, if they're happier by talking to us than they were without talking to us, they're probably going to keep hiring us too. It's good business. If you make people like you, it's good business. I don't care what business you're in. If it's my business, if it's a cleaning business, if it's a painting business, whatever business you're in, if people like doing business with you, they're going to probably want to continue to do business with you as long as you do good work for them. So there's a networking group. I'll share this with you. There's a networking group that I'm a part of that the motto is know, like, trust, and refer. So people have to know you. When they know you, you want them to like you.
Yeah.
Once they like you, as your relationship progresses with them, they'll start to trust you. And once they trust you, only then will they refer you. So being nice to people, being kind to people, being generous with people, even if they can't do anything for us, that's still good business because you get referrals from it. So it's the right thing to do as a human being, and it's the right thing to do for growing your business.
Yeah, wow, amazing. I think this really speaks volume, especially when you make reference of the client being happy and also when they're being successful. Because a client that is happy about doing business with you definitely will be successful in what it does. This is really amazing way of actually more like looking at it, and so amazing.
Yes.
So what made you decide to focus our Greenhaven expertise on SEO? SEO after AI other than just general digital marketing?
Well, so we looked around, and there's a couple of things. There's a couple of different answers to that. One of the answers to that was we looked around, and there are a lot of great marketing agencies around. There's a lot of great designers. There's a lot of great web designers. There's a lot of great advertising agencies. There's a lot of people doing a lot of that work, and we do a lot of that work too. But we looked around and we saw that not too many people, not too many agencies really understood the technology as well as we did. I mentioned to you when we started that one of the things that I've always been interested in is computers and technology. Since the late 1970s, I'm that old. Since the late 1970s, I've been very much into computers and technology. And so in the most technically challenging areas of marketing is in figuring out Google's algorithms, the search engine optimization, AI. That can be very challenging from a database perspective, from a technology perspective. And the people that are usually good, like designers, graphic artists, graphic designers, branding agencies, those type of folks, they're usually very creative and very innovative and visual and design and those soft skills, which are critically important skills. I'm not denying that at all, but they're usually not as good when it comes to figuring out the details about how to get keywords ranked or how to understand what Google wants in terms of its algorithm or understand what an AI wants when somebody uses ChatGPT or Gemini or Perplexity or one of the AI tools to search for a product or a company to do business with. Usually folks that are in that sort of creative space are not always as good at sorting that out, or they're not interested in that. So we get involved with a lot of very technical details for our clients. Well, if we bring on a new client, one of the things that we will always do is we'll say, okay, well, who are your top 5 competitors? We will then do an in-depth technical analysis of those competitors. We've got a lot of expensive and powerful tools that help us to determine what keywords Google thinks they rank for, what are the topics that they have authority on with Google. And then we try to figure out, well, what's the competitive barrier that they have that we can either surpass them on, or that's so big that we don't want to go head to head with them and we got to find another way. So those are all very, technically challenging tasks to do. But my staff and I find that it's like being a detective, it's like searching out the deep understanding of why people do things, what keywords they use to get to a website, how they research products, understanding what's going on in people's minds, as well as in Google's mind. Google is and has been for many years an artificial intelligence of its own. Even before ChatGPT and AI and all of that, Google was an AI that was telling people, what they wanted to hear in response to their search queries. So we work a lot with those very technical resources that a lot of folks don't have.
What are most common mistake business make with SEO?
So the most common mistake that businesses make with SEO is thinking that they know the keywords and the phrases and the ways people are searching for them. I'll give you a very practical example. If you go into an automotive repair shop around here and you want to get your car fixed, most people will say, I need a mechanic to come look at my car. Now, the people that work in the automotive repair shops who are actually fixing cars, when you say, what's your job title? Most of them don't say mechanic. Most of them say, I'm an automotive technician. Right? Now, what I say to owners of automotive, and we do a fair amount of business also with automotive repair shops, what I say to the owners of those automotive repair shops is, because they'll say to me, I want to show up well for the search on mechanic in my area. And I say, why do you want to do that? Well, because I'm sorry, I got that backwards. They will say, I want to show up for automotive repair, a technician in my area. And I say, no, you don't. And they say, what do you mean? I say, do you want to show up for the words mechanic? And they say, well, we're not mechanics. It's not the 90s. And I say, look, what matters most is not what you think you are. What matters most is what your customers think you are, because they're the ones that you need to show up for when they have a problem with their car.
Yeah,
So
true.
those kinds of things. And the same thing's true in many different industries. Industries will have names for themselves that the public doesn't use. They'll have some internal name that they use for themselves that the public doesn't use. So it's important as a business owner to not assume that you know how people are going to search for you. It's important to do the research, and that's what we do. We start off all of our relationships with our clients with research into them and to their competitors. In fact, we offer people a free audit to show them where they show up and where their competitors show up. And from there, once you understand how people are finding people that do, for instance, automotive repair, then you can write content and create a website that appeals and tells Google that you are an expert in the thing that people are actually searching for. So that's one of the major mistakes that people make. There's another one too that's very similar to that. A lot of people believe that what Google is it's a big, long list of words, and that it's this list that you search for something, it looks on the list and it says, here's the person, or here's the person you need to go to. That's not how Google works at all. The way that Google works is if you search for something, it takes into account where you're physically located, because when you search for something and when I search for something, the results are going to be different. You're in a different city than I am. So that's critical. The other thing it takes into account is it takes into account what Google knows about you and what they know about me. So we have two completely different separate search histories, lives, etc. There's apparently between 3,000 and 5,000 personally identifying pieces of information on every person that Google knows about from our search habits and all this. So they're going to display different results for you based on what they know you like and are interested in versus what I like and I'm interested in. And the third thing that will take into account, of course, is the search term that you use. But people often think it's just the search term, but that's not true. I can tell you very often, I will get clients or people that might become clients say to me, well, I don't show up when I search for this term. And my response back to them is, well, why would Google show you that result? So for instance, sometimes with Google ads, people will say, I don't show up for this thing that I'm advertising. And I say to them, well, it may be because you're not a very good prospect to buy your own service, right? So why would Google is an artificial intelligence. It's not just a list of things. It's an artificial intelligence. Why would Google show an ad to somebody that's not a good prospect for that ad?
Yeah.
Well, in a perfect world, they wouldn't do that. So I think people oftentimes oversimplify Google. They think that it's just a very simple thing. I want this keyword, I buy this keyword, or I want this keyword, and I show up for this keyword, and then it all happens. But it's a lot more like rocket science than it is just a straight up list. Those are a few things. There's a number of other things, but those are a couple of things that I find that most business owners really don't understand very well.
Amazing. It really speaks volume when it comes to getting to know what is searchable and what is definitely going to appear once you actually been checked. So what should trade persons or blue collar entrepreneurs look for when choosing a marketing agency partner?
Well, one of the things they should look for is somebody that understands their business, because it's every business is unique. And not only should they look for somebody that understands their business category, but they should also look for somebody, and this part is even more important, who will seek to understand their particular business. So let me tell you what I mean by that. So I understand we deal with plumbers all the time, right? So I understand, I'm not a plumber, but I understand something about the plumbing business. But every plumbing business is, say, 70 or 80% the same, but it's also 20% different. The plumbing business just down the road for me has one set of things they're really good at, they like to do, etc. Another plumbing business that's in another city might be similar, but they have a different set of things that they do that they really have expertise in that are very important to them. They might have a different kind of client that they want to deal with. So whenever you're selecting a digital marketing agency, one of the key things to do is to find somebody who is going to not just say, here, buy this, and here's the program, and go do it. What they should find is somebody who says, okay, let's talk. Let me understand your business. Let me understand what's important to you. Let me understand your business history. Let me understand your staff. Let me understand your training. Let me understand what people are saying about you already. Let me understand the equipment and the tools that you have, that you use. Let me understand all the specifics about your business. Because once I understand that, when I can, I like to go and I like to visit. We have a lot of clients that are in the local area here. I like to go and visit their business because that gives me a feel for their business. That gives me an understanding of who they are, what their values are, what they can offer clients, what they can offer their customers. So if you have that understanding, then a company like ours or anybody that does it that way can put together a more realistic plan. So they should look for somebody that's going to deal with them as an individual business, not just as another plumbing business or another roofing business or another whatever HVAC business, et cetera. That's really critical. Somebody that will listen. I talk a lot, as you can tell, but I really, when I first start interacting with clients, I spend a lot of time asking questions and listening to them. In fact, before the people will come to me and say, okay, well, I've got a plumbing business. How much is this going to cost? I say, well, I don't know. I don't want to just say, here's a price list, buy this, because I don't know what's going to fit you best until I spend time to know your business. Another way that manifests in how we deal with our clients is we will have folks sometimes say to us, I want to just turn it all over to you, and I don't want to talk to you. You just go market our business. And I will tell them, no, I can't do that. I need regular interaction with you to understand how your business works, to understand how the things that we are doing are working, or to understand if the things we're doing are not working. So I need a partnership with my clients. And so whenever you're looking for a digital marketing company, it's critical to find a company that just doesn't want to sell you something, but somebody who will partner with you to help you achieve your goals, not just drop reports on your desk. A lot of people in the marketing space and the digital marketing space in particular, what they will do is they will print out reports every month. They'll give them to their client or send them a link and say, here's the reports. Look at how wonderful we're doing. And the client looks at the reports and they're like, I don't even know what any of this means. We don't do that. We say, here are some reports. Let's talk about what it means. And not only will we talk about what it means, we will talk about, is it making a difference in your business? If it's not making a difference in your business, then what are you paying the marketing company for? So you've got to have that kind of personal relationship with your marketing company. Otherwise, you can't be successful.
Wow. Amazing. The fact that you actually care to put those particular things just to understand their business more, it really speaks volumes to it. So AI is actually more like has been a game changer across industry. How is it changing the way we think about SEO and digital marketing?
Well, it's changing it very significantly. Some of the things that we observe, so we're doing a lot of testing right now to see what really does make a difference in terms of artificial intelligence and marketing. And some of the things we're finding is the way that people, and this is, if you think about how most of us use AI, a lot of people, when they're using AI, are speaking to it in sentences, paragraphs, in complex sentences, complex paragraphs, the way that people used to interact with Google and still do to a certain extent. They might put in something like roofing company near me. Well, that's not how people interact with AI. People will interact with AI by saying things like, it seems like my roof is leaking because, and they'll describe to the AI, how the roof is leaking, what they're experiencing. They come to it with a problem. They might not necessarily say, I need a roofing company to come out and fix this problem for me. But if you have then, as part of your website, as part of your digital presence, not just your website, but your website, your Google business profile, all the directories and all of this stuff, if you have there things that the AI can understand and read and digest, when people start asking it questions, then it will be more willing, if you will, and capable of directing the customer over to the business. So you have to, the other way that AI is changing things, and I've said this even about Google before AI came around, I said what you want to treat Google as a relationship. Google and AI these are real relationships. Now, you and I are biological intelligences. We're BIs. We're biology intelligences. Google is an artificial intelligence. ChatGPT is an artificial intelligence, but it's still an intelligence. And when any two intelligences are interacting, that's called relationship. So you have to be able to make a relationship between your intelligence, which is your website, your social media, all of the different things that make up any business's digital marketing, and the intelligence that you end up talking to, which is ChatGPT or Gemini or Perplexity or Google or any of these types of things. Now, what does it take to have a relationship? Well, any two people that are going to have a relationship have to trust each other. They have to be able to communicate with each other. They have to have some shared language. So you have to think about these things when it comes to Google or ChatGPT or any of the AIs. You have to make a relationship with you seem appealing to the AI. Now, that's kind of foreign to most people because most people think of it like a spreadsheet or a database or some kind of online program, and that's all it is. No, you need to think about giving the AI an incentive to look at your information and to use your information more than it has an incentive to have a relationship with somebody else. It's kind of like dating, right? I mean, you have to be more appealing to the person you want to date than the other person who wants to date the person that you want to date, right? So that's how relationships work. And also the other thing about it is that it has to happen over time. The relationship with Google, the relationship with AI is not something that happens overnight. It doesn't happen instantaneously. It's something that happens over a period of time. You build trust with it, you build relationship with it, you build an ongoing dialogue with it. And by doing that, then you're going to be more successful. And that's just going to improve and become more and more a real factor in marketing as time goes on. I think the relationship aspects of marketing, both for computers and for people, are going to be even more powerful as the years go by.
Wow, amazing. This is really profound. It's the fact that you make reference to relationship that AI is actually more like comes around to give, a whole lot to what the outlook really is to actually make it more robust. So just
Yes.
apart from just showing up with your SEO alone, we have to start figuring out how to interact with it so that in a way tell stories of what problem we get to solve, so that at the end of the day AI can interact with it and actually recommend what we do to our IT clients owing to how they interact with AI. And this is
Yes.
really profound.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
so what is the biggest myth you hear about AI in marketing, and what is the real truth?
Well, probably the biggest myth is that it actually feels what it sounds like it feels. So I think and I think we have to be careful. One of the things to understand is now that I've given you my speech about relationships, it's important to understand that AI is still technology. It's still computers. And so even though it sounds like that it's another human being, it's really not. So, and I think there's a lot of instances we see online where people are starting to almost assume that it has feelings and it has emotions. Now, I do think I was having this conversation with somebody earlier today when they said, well, when you talk with AI, do you use words like please and thank you? And we've determined in our company that we're going to use, and we use the words please and thank you. Well, why is that? Why do we use please and thank you? It's not because we think AI is going to be mad and blow up the world. I mean, if it does, it does. We can't do anything about that. It's because we need to be in the habit of treating any intelligence, biological or technological, as with politeness, so we don't get out of the habit of treating people politely, right? Because that's, as I said to my earlier comments about kindness, that's very critical. But at the same time, we do need to understand that even though it sounds human, it's not human. And then the other part of that we need to understand is that AI sometimes has what they call hallucinations. Hallucinations being when it gives you information that's just not true. So one of the realities of AI that not everybody has really understood yet is that they are all designed to give you good sounding, confident sounding answers. So whenever you ask an AI a question, for the most part, it doesn't say, I don't know, and leave it at that.
Yeah.
It will try to come up with an answer. It's designed to come up with an answer for you. It's designed to come up with information for you. Now, sometimes if it can't come up with actual information because it doesn't know, it might not say, I don't know. It might give you an answer anyway that isn't really true. That's what they call hallucinations. So especially for critical things, like if we're interacting with AI on medical things or on legal things or anything like that, we need to make sure that we double check and understand if it's really giving us an accurate answer. It can be a game changer. And, I have a 97-year-old father, and I use it to double check what the doctors tell my father very regularly. But at the same time, I always double check what AI says as well to make sure that it's not hallucinating. I think over a period of years, I think that will go away, and I think AI will become better at only giving answers that are well-supported answers. But it's not quite there yet. There's still some ways to go with it.
Wow, amazing. I think it's the fact that you make reference about treating AI as though they're biological stuff, or being that, you still tell it thank you and please. I do sometimes. It's not just because of the AI model. It's just because of, I'm just culturing me. So that at the end of the day, when I actually get to see things outside there, I won't take it as normal, just like AI, without saying thank you and please.
Exactly. It's a human thing. It's just a human thing, right? We got to make sure that we don't lose our humanity because we're dealing with inhuman, creations.
Wow, amazing. So what do you believe in the future, what do you believe is the future of marketing for small service-based entrepreneurs, especially those who actually work with their hands?
I think, one of the things that I think AI is doing, it's almost counterintuitive. It's putting a higher value on human relationships. So if, for instance, the cost of information and the ability to access information is everywhere. We can access any information anytime, anywhere. And if the cost of doing that is very, very low, getting that information is very, very easy to do and inexpensive, then the thing that becomes of even more value is the actual relationships with other people. And I think one of the things we notice is that there's a real desire by people, especially younger generations now, to have some of the analog experiences like that I had as a kid.
Yeah.
If you think about vinyl records, people are buying vinyl records more now than they did in the early 1980s. Cassette tapes are coming back. CDs are coming back, So all of these kind of more, you might say, more human experiences people are valuing those more than they did before. And I think, like I've talked to our staff about this, I think, and it goes along with our kindness initiative, our kindness, motivation as a company. I think people that can make relationships with other people and really genuinely care for them and be kind to them in any service business is going to be even more important than it has been in the past. When the plumber shows up at your house and they're there to do the job, but they're also friendly with you.
Yeah.
They're also, concerned about you. They're nice to your dog, whatever it happens to be. I think those are some things that can differentiate one service business from another service business, whatever that service is. It's not just about your capabilities and your intelligence and your skill set. It's about your ability to relate to other people. In this world, you and I are talking to each other from different sides of the planet, right? I mean, that's incredibly cool. That's an amazing thing. But at the same time, people are feeling like they're only behind screens these days. They're not feeling like I mentioned earlier that I like to visit businesses in person when I have that opportunity to, and I visited one the other day and he said, wow, you're really willing to come out and visit me? I said, yes, I am. And I value it because I want to the greatest extent possible, I want to have that human relationship with you. So I think those things in the future, and even now and going forward into the future, are going to be some ways that service businesses, any business, can differentiate themselves from their competition. Very critical to do.
Wow, amazing, key. And I think human relationship cannot be overemphasized, especially more like in service-based business, as AI keep coming in and people are drifting towards connecting more with people. I think that is more of a win-win to service-based business. That apart from just showing up, show up being human, show up with kindness, show up with all the things that demand that. Even at the end of the day, you do your work, but still you leave this bit of our kindness and humanity that make them want to reach out to you when job actually pop up again. And this is
Exactly.
really an amazing way of actually more like doing business. So
Yes.
you have involved in community program that help people escape poverty and
Mhm.
rebuild their life. How has that shaped your perspective on leadership?
Well, so the first thing is, and the reason that I do it and we do it is, a lot of folks, we live in our own little bubble. We live in our own little space, and we don't necessarily see what's going on outside of our space. We don't necessarily see people that haven't had some of the advantages. Now, I didn't grow up in a wealthy family or in a family with much money. But, I never had a situation where I didn't have enough to eat. I never had a situation where I didn't have a roof over my head or anything like that. So I think just from a human perspective, and this is, when you get back to what life is really about, as I said, I love selling, I love making money, I love technology, I love marketing and business. But if it really comes down to it, you and I and everybody on Earth, we share this little Earth together, this little ball together that's flying through space. If we can support each other in whatever we have, especially for those that don't have as much, then I think our things that we do will be richer. We'll be not just financially richer, but we will be richer human beings as a result of that. So, one of the organizations I was with them earlier today that we work with, that I'm on the board with, serves children who have no medical insurance, who have no dental insurance. And, if you have tooth pain, if you have a toothache, that's horrible. But a kid with a toothache who has no way of getting that fixed and who just has to deal with the pain, that's heartbreaking. That's just heartbreaking. And so this organization I work with will provide dental care for any child, regardless if they don't have any money to pay, their parents don't have any money, it doesn't matter. We'll still help them. And that also, I think, you asked about leadership. That also, I think, makes you a better leader. When you are a more compassionate and kind person, then you can better lead your organization. You can better lead the people that are surrounding you. And when people come to work at Greenhaven, they know that they're here to get a paycheck. Yeah, everybody wants to be paid. I want to be paid. We all want to be paid. They want to enjoy what they're doing, but they also know that they're contributing to something that is more than just that. They know that they're helping the world, that our little company, we're just 15 people in a little part of America. We're not a big company, but they know that they're contributing to something that has more meaning than just the paycheck. Then positions us, and there's business benefits to that too. One of the business benefits is that we get to meet a lot of new people. We get to meet a lot of people in our community that otherwise we wouldn't meet. Well, that's good for the business. More people know about Greenhaven, and they see us as being not just in it for money. Yes, we're in it for money, but they see us also as contributing to our community. And maybe there's some of them that want to do business with a company that's kind to other people. So that, to me, is another part of leadership. It's also for the people that work for me, for the people that are on my staff. If they look at me and they say, well, Dave's not just a mean old guy trying to scrape together every little penny for himself so he can buy a boat or something. If they see that their work here and my leadership here leads to something better for some other people, even in the small little way that we can do as 15 people, then that makes those people want to stay at my company longer. And that's good for business too. So I've said for a long time that all of these things, there's that old phrase, you've probably heard it, nice guys finish last. And, I think that's totally wrong. I think if you're good to people and if you're kind to people and if you help people, that is good leadership. It's good business principles. It's great marketing. And it really helps out to make your company a leader in whatever space that you're in.
It's really amazing why you were speaking this. I think it just dawned on me about a particular idea that I have. Because the reason I started this podcast was the fact that I noticed a whole lot of persons want to learn some blue collar jobs, but some of them they don't have any idea on how to go about it. And I said, okay, so how about I start collecting stories of how a whole lot of persons did it, how they came about the ideas and how they did it. And it just dawned on me that if I can actually more like I'll do this to a particular extent, and I start reaching out to local persons, getting to interview them, how they get started, and also even ask them for more like, did they need the mentee? When they need the mentee, how can the mentee reach out to them? Just create it and put it on the internet, and people can basically just reach out, learn from them, get started. Yeah, in a way, it has it very very demanding now, more like for someone who is just more like willing to learn a blue collar jobs to actually just get it, because there are a whole lot of gatekeep. There's a whole lot of fees that need to be paid. But having a whole lot of stories all along, I think I can actually more like reduce the friction between what is obtainable in getting that done and just get so many persons. Because I discovered that if at the end of the day we make the place a better place and everybody's happy and they're doing business, definitely people will actually be willing, passionate to actually even come around and do business well with you. And yeah, it's really
Exactly.
amazing.
It'll be
Just
fun.
hearing from you just inspired me.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. See, that's what we want to do. We want, just like we started this conversation, we want people who interact with any of us on our team, myself or any of my team members, we want them to come away from that conversation happier, inspired, knowing that there's people in the world that care, and that I think is good business. And I think if we teach people, if we teach our younger business people in particular, the blue collar workers, the new plumbers and electricians, and everybody else, that being nice to people, being kind to people, being helpful to people is a business skill. It's not just something you do in your personal life. It's a business skill. Then you're going to be more successful in life, and you're going to enjoy yourself more too. I mean, I have fun at work. People ask me, well, Dave, when are you going to retire? Why would I retire? I'm having a great time. I'm having fun. Maybe 20 years from now I'll retire, but I'm having fun, and I'm meeting a lot of people that I enjoy talking to. I've enjoyed talking, you and I talking. This is, I mean, I get paid to do this. What a cool deal.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dave. So
Yeah.
finally, Dave, after decades of helping business, what is one message you want to actually more like leave with business owner trying to stay relevant and humans in this AI driven world?
Well, one of the things, and you mentioned it in your last question, always learning. So, I've been in business for over 30 years now, and, I never want to get so set in my ways in business or in technology or in life that I'm not learning. I think one of the things that any business owner, whether you are young in business or whether you've been around the block a few times, one of the real key things is to make sure you're always dedicated to learning, always I've listened to some of your other podcasts and the discussions you had with people about mentors. And I've always had mentors in my life. I've always had, even after 30 years in business, I have people that I look up to that are mentors for me. And I look for them to teach me new things. I look for them to hold me accountable for the things that I already know and that I'm doing in business. My staff, I will tell you that, I don't like the term boss, right? Sometimes my staff will say, okay, boss, I don't like that term. I am your leader. Yes, I am your leader. I do own the company. I do make decisions. I do sign the checks. I do all that stuff. But we are partners in this business, and I want you to look at me as somebody who can teach you something. I want to be able to teach them. I want to be able to learn from them. I don't want to come across as somebody who knows it all. I've learned a few things in 30 some odd years, but I don't know it all yet, and I never will know it all. And so you always have to learn. You've always got to be open to learning new things. You've always got to be open. I tell my staff, if there's ever something you see that you think, Dave, that's not really the best choice, bring it to my attention. I'll listen to you. I won't get mad at you for doing that. So always be open to learning. Always be open to folks that are willing to say there's a better way to do this, and always have mentors. I will always have mentors until the day I die.
Wow, amazing. Thanks a whole lot for that. And thanks for
Yeah.
the comment and response to the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So,
You bet.
how can my audience learn more about you? How can they do business with you? And where is the better place to get?
So you can always find us at greenhaveninteractive.com. You can search Google for Greenhaven and marketing, and will come up. You can look on LinkedIn and search under Greenhaven Interactive. We'll come up there. We're on social media. You can reach out to me. My email address, the easiest one that I share on podcasts, is davep@davep.com. Dave P is in Parkhurst at davep.com. And so I'm easy to find there. I've had that same email address since the 1990s. So I'm easy to find. But always go to Greenhaven Interactive or search on Greenhaven Interactive, and you can find me. And we'd love to talk to any of your podcast listeners anytime.
Oh, thank you, Dave. Yeah, Dave, thank you for sharing your time, your
You bet.
wisdom, and your kindness today. For anyone who wants to understand how to make digital marketing actually work for your business, not just look good on paper, check out our greenhaveninteractive.com. There you can request for a digital marketing audit to cover exactly where your opportunity lies and how to compete with confidence. If these conversations open your mind about the future and marketing, share it with another business. We could use some clarity and encouragement. I'm Aro Benaiah, and this is the Aro Benaiah Show. Stay grounded, stay kind, keep building something that lasts. Once again, it's really a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you, Ara. I appreciate it. Nice talking with you.